Oh look, another over-action-packed unnecessary remake! Yay! The Mummy. Or at least that's what they insist on calling it. Main character rundown. First we have Tom Cruise as Nick, who is your basic thief / asshole. Then we have Annabelle Wallis as Jenny. I literally had to go to IMDb to look up her character's name because this is yet another movie that doesn't feel the need to introduce its characters. She exists to be blonde and move the plot along. That is all. And we have Sophia Boutella as the titular mummy. Emphasis on tits. So 5 minutes in, and Hollywood, you must stop with the full body and face tattoos. They look good on no one. And yes, I'm including Wentworth Miller. And they do not serve to make your bad guy, or girl in this case, look scary or supernatural. And while I have no problem with the mummy being a girl, I do have a problem with her being naked for no reason and having no plans. She wants ultimate power, fine, but give a girl a reason. Because it must be said, what the fuck is Tom Cruise doing in this movie? He's horribly miscast as well as just being horrible. So far there's a lot of action and not a lot of reason for it, and it's not even very good action. We learn the two heroes are thieves, and in the military. Though how they're still in the military after a lengthy exposition of all the bullshit they've done is something they'll never explain, so I'll just call it what it is. Lazy fucking writing. We get some shoutouts to the 1999 and much better Mummy movie with a slap and a reference to a stolen map. Turns out, these ancient Egyptians were a little smarter than the last ones, because they took the undead evil out of their own country. Still left it completely unprotected and didn't warn anyone about what was down there, but they took that shit away from their own backyard. So having found the plot, the heroes jump right in. Literally. Cruise and co. make a massive archaeological find and literally jump into the giant deep hole they can't see the bottom of and have no idea what's down there. Because that's just how you archaeology in these movies. And Cruise shows he is the smart one by touching an unknown mystery liquid that thankfully is just highly poisonous mercury. Meanwhile, Sidekick starts stealing. Blonde girl shows us she's part Google because she knows everything. Just by looking at it, and instantly knows that this is a bad person buried here and this is not actually a burial chamber, it's a prison. Dun dun dun. Quick question for the ancient Egyptians. Why have a whole system of chains that can raise the sarcophagus if you want it to stay down there forever? You've taken great precautions to make sure it stays down there. And how are the chains holding it down? Does this movie not quite understand how gravity works? I retract what I said about them being smart. Sandstorm trailer fodder is coming, so they gotta go. There's some unfunny bickering, and then Nick says, fuck it, and breaks the chain, raising the mummy. Like you do. Which, I gotta say, that one shot of the sarcophagus being raised, and it's all dramatic, and the music, that one shot, it works. It's good, it looks good, the music's good, but at the same time, when they're cutting back to the characters' reactions, I'm being highly distracted by this movie's lighting. What is this trend of bad lighting and how do we kill it? They have this weird, direct, top-down, harsh lighting going on, and just, it makes everyone look very bad, and it makes the movie look very cheap in a moment where it's trying to really show the money on screen and fails because of that. Because he's the main character, the raising of the sarcophagus causes Tom Cruise to start having flashbacks to being in the desert and making out with pretty girl, which she doesn't feel the need to tell anyone about and doesn't really seem to think it's all that odd either. For more reasons never explained, the military cares about this thing, and so they literally dangle it from a helicopter and fly it over the desert, because that's not going to damage the priceless 5,000-year-old sarcophagus at all. Not one little bit. So now we're on a plane to somewhere, and Sidekick guy who got bitten by not a scarab in the tomb suddenly turns into a zombie. Yeah, not a mummy. He turns into a frickin' zombie. And he kills the guy in charge, so now Tom Cruise can be in charge. They crash because all movies are action movies now, and while I admire the effort they took to film this scene, It drags on way, way too long, and again, it's just not that good. It's not engaging. I don't care about any of these people. This is where the movie actually surprised me for a second, and I was ready to start giving it a bit more of a chance because they did something interesting. They kill the lead. Tom Cruise is dead. That could be interesting. And they immediately kill it less than 1 minute later by having him magically resurrect with zero explanation. And apparently this must happen every day because nobody acts like this is odd or weird or unusual, and he's allowed to just stroll right out of a military hospital and go drinking. Archaeology Barbie then gives more exposition, including her personal reasons for being in this movie. Then Dead Sidekick tells Cruise that he's cursed, and the movie has no idea what subtle or atmospheric mean. And for padding, the person who just said she thought they had angered the gods doesn't believe in the curse when Cruise tells her about it and says, "Oh yeah, I think you're right, we have angered the gods." The movie thinks things like this are funny. Movie is wrong. The two now decide they will go look in the box to see if the mummy is still in it, which of course she isn't. This is literally the halfway point of this movie. Halfway, and nothing much has happened. Really, nothing of large significance has happened. They found a mummy, they took it somewhere else, and it's escaped. That's it. There's been plenty of action, yeah, but I could condense the first half of this movie down to a good 3 minutes and lose nothing of the so-called plot. I'm bored, movie. We get our first look at the mummy, and it's cool if you forget what a mummy is. It gets less cool when the CGI gets involved. More padding, and mummy powers now include mind control. They're attacked by the mummy, who will now be calling IMNSHO, because this is not a mummy movie, and she is not a mummy. She's just a super-powered undead princess named IMNSHO, because we just needed to pull a random Egyptian name and instead of using one already associated with the series or famous name that people would know or recognize. Nah, IMNSHO. IMNSHO has them trapped and is closing in for the kill, when the movie surprises me for a second time, which would almost make me give it a chance if it wasn't still so terribly bad and about to get much worse. Black Ops guys show up out of nowhere, and they can somehow subdue IMNSHO and save Cruise and Blonde Girl, and then they do something that made me really laugh. They shoot Cruise. It's a good moment in the movie, mostly because you just really want to see his character get shot. And you don't even know if he's like fatally shot, but you don't care. The movie then cuts to London because people know it exists. And this is where we fall into a completely different movie. We meet Dr. Jekyll. And I wish I was making that up. He has a scary lab of evil and lots of weird things in jars and is played by Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe is at least good enough to mention the names of the main characters so I can finally learn them more than halfway through the movie. And he has IMNSHO again being held down by chains. Are chains her kryptonite? She just tossed Tom Cruise like a sack of rice, but this can contain the ultimate evil power. They chit-chat about how to kill IMNSHO, but the blonde girl protests. She wants the undead evil being to teach them history. And while IMNSHO makes some threats to her, Jekyll fills Cruise in on his plan to kill Cruise and let his body be taken over by Set, as was IMNSHO's plan, so that he, Jekyll, can kill the raised living god and end this whole thing once and for all. I could spend hours on how stupid this plan is, and oh look, IMNSHO's escaping. What the actual fuck? In a movie called The Mummy, I must now report that Dr. Jekyll has turned into Hyde and is beating the fuck out of Tom Cruise. IMNSHO summons a spider into a guy's ear to mind control him into taking an axe to the fuse box. Except this apparently has a delayed effect because the power doesn't fail right away. No. First we have to see Amunet somehow able to vomit up all the mercury they've been pumping into her body, and then the power remembers to fail. And then she remembers she has superpowers and finally breaks the fucking chains. And it's Exposition Barbie for the win, as she somehow knows that destroying the redstone and the plot dagger will stop all of Amunet's plans and lift the curse from Cruz. Amunet, now free, appears to get pissed when Cruz runs off with the blonde instead of coming to be her lover and be taken over by a god. They have some visions in the movie that suggest they were lovers before and that Cruz has some weird attraction to her because of it, but honestly, the movie doesn't earn it. They don't show it well. It has zip to do with the story, and there's zero chemistry between anyone and anyone else in this movie. The backstory of Cruz and Amunet matters so little that it's only there if you really, really want it to be. There's only 20 minutes left in the movie, and he hasn't mentioned it to anybody, nor has it been relevant at any point. Nor will it be relevant in the rest of this movie. And he has no chemistry with her. Or with the blonde. Amunet must know the movie's nearly over because she goes full climax. Breaks a lot of glass, stirs up a lot of dust, and slow-mo walks down a street looking badass. Genuinely, she looks badass, I'll give him that one. We get some actual mummies finally while everyone tries to get the stone, and why must bad guys slow walk everywhere? But she's apparently fast enough because Amunet gets to the dagger first, and having delivered Cruz to his final set piece, the blonde girl dutifully dies. And there's no freaking way that anyone can hold their breath as long as Tom Cruise appears to hold his breath in this movie. No way. No level of suspension of disbelief gets them a pass here. It's just way too long of a scene. For no reason. Again. This movie is so padded. Even though their backstory is a one-night stand that didn't go very well, Cruz and the blonde are apparently soulmates, and he is devastated by her sudden death. Amunet says, "Join me in evil power," and Cruz elects to get thrown across the room again. There's almost a moment of tension as she slow walks, yet again, over towards him, knife in hand, camera on the knife. And then I hear just a few lines of music that just destroy any tension or goodwill I was about to give this movie for a second. For obvious reasons, I can't play the music, but here's a little clue. I really wish I was making that up. Cruz makes one last attempt to be funny before getting thrown across the room again, only this time he's stolen the dagger and is about to destroy the stone, which Amunet tells him if he does, he will become a living god with the power over life and death, which he wants so he can raise dead blonde girl. So naturally he stabs himself with the thing, becoming the god with the evil double eyes. If that makes no sense, it's because, yeah, the movie makes no sense. The dialogue is so terrible and unclear that it sounds like she's telling him destroying the stone will cause him to turn into the god and have the power over life and death. So he looks like a fucking idiot when he stabs himself. Amunet is thrilled to have her lover back, and the god that she tried to raise finally raised. Her plan is all come true. It's her birthday. He has raised the god Set into a mortal body. Though why an ancient Egyptian god would want to be in an immortal body is never really explained. The power of the plot is just too strong, and even though he's been a kind of evil, immoral bastard the entire movie, and is now literally possessed by a god who is literally the incarnation of evil, no, because he's Tom Cruise, he's still a good guy. So he kills Amunet in very pathetic fashion. She goes down like nothing. She's the badass in the movie, and she goes down like a total bitch. It's quite sad. And then he raises the dead blonde girl back to life, which apparently takes a little while because he's gone, a la Bruce Banner when she wakes up. Because, of course, the League of whatever they are is coming to get him since he's now the evil, so they will hunt him. And Russell Crowe teases a sequel that, unfortunately, will probably get made. So that's The Mummy. No, it's not! I liked the Brendan Fraser ones. They were mummy movies. I don't know what this is, but it's not good. I don't recommend seeing it at all, or at least not paying to see it. If you can catch it free on TV or something, you know, maybe to kill a little time, but it's not a good movie. It has nothing to do with mummies or Egypt. It's not funny, and even the action lets it down. The dialogue is terrible, and the whole movie just feels like nothing but setup with no payoff. The one place they really needed a big action scene has almost no action. The final fight of Cruz versus Ahmanet, both undead, super evil powered people. It's a big showdown, it's a big matchup that they spend the whole movie setting up, and then they do absolutely nothing with it. I mean, literally nothing. Ahmanet is defeated in a pathetic way. And then, in the last shot of Cruz, he apparently thinks mummy bandages are a fashion statement. Now the one thing I haven't commented on. The Dark Universe. It's a bad idea. You suck at it. Give it up already, Universal. You are not, never will be Marvel. I am Insane Lane, and I am IMNSHO. That is the movie that calls itself The Mummy 2017. Bye-bye.